Hello, everyone. I'm Mark from GUP. GUP is a creative brand agency here in Scotland. You can probably tell by the accent. What I want to show you today is partly our build of a Editor X site based around a donation type website, a charity website that we're raising funds for. So we'll just sort of dive right in. What I'll tell you sort of about what we do first is we use this platform. It's called Miro. So we use Miro to basically design out pages of a website, just to make sure that we're using as much creativity as we can. We're not thinking too much about the technical aspects of it. That comes later on down the line when we're building. So what you're joining me for today is just a sort of little quick introduction to sort of building out on Editor X. So you'll see by our homepage here, we have obviously the logo in the top corner. We have an image in the background, some text, some buttons here. We also have this. This is going to be dependent on dynamic data. So what it will do is, obviously the challenge here is 300 miles in 30 days. So this progress bar, this is a progress bar here, that will be connected to a data set that will pull the relevant information out and then subtract that amount to then say, right, we only have 106 miles left. That will be a sort of counter and incentive for people to donate. We also have this section here, which again will pull information from a data set, a payments data set that will be connected to Stripe also. So it'll give a running total basically. Every time someone makes a donation, that amount will go up. Again, this is all dependent on sort of dynamic data, which I won't get into today. We won't do the technical aspect of it today. I want to just show you sort of building out certain parts on this page. We'll jump back over to Editor X here, and you will see that we've already got some parts of this site built out. So we're going to change some of the aspects at the top here, maybe darken this image so we can read the text better. And then, as you can see, we have the progress bar built in here now as well. So they're all in containers or stacks. And then again, this helps sort of manage things easier. So you can see we've already sort of colored this, it's designed well. This repeater underneath, this will be connected to, again, another data set. There's a number of us on the team here at GUP. And we will all have our own logins to be able to log in, say I've walked 3.5 miles today, and then submit that. So basically what will happen here is that this little drop down section will rotate with everyone's entries from that day. Just again, it's a little nice touch for visitors of the website, possible donators, to see that these are individuals who are doing actual miles of walking. Again, you can see the rest of the parts here. And as we scroll down, this is a section I'm going to start building out with you and continue to build out. So you can see I've got all of this here. It's within stacks and containers. And we'll jump back to the Miro board for a second. Okay, so in the Miro board, you'll see that's that section that I've just built out. And I've built this basically, and I use a sort of certain logic here when it comes to building out on Editor X. I see this as a container with two columns, basically. So if we quickly visualize this, this is essentially what the container would do here. And I would put a grid line down here. And then it means that these items in the vertical stack is exactly what I would put them into, a stack, and then control the spacing and width within this container grid. Likewise, with the image here, again, I can control the parameters of that within the box. So the section that we're going to build out now is this part below. Many people would use a repeater. A lot would use containers. The only way I would use a repeater is if I'm expecting more of those results, basically, or if it's for displaying user content, etc., from a dynamic data set. So yeah, what I would use in this particular instance would just be a container with 3 containers within. What I mean by that is if we draw, again, one main container box, split that into 3 columns. And then it means we can place each of these into one. So I'll start out by designing one and another container within that grid, and then just duplicate it over, okay? So we'll quickly jump into this and have a look. Okay, so you can see I have the first container here. There's no grid to it yet, so we'll just apply that. We want to have 3 columns and 1 row, which we have. And just a quick note here, I'm going to apply on advanced mode here a gap in between these, and it just means that when I put the text in and containers in, it means that they're not sitting sort of clashing with one another. So I will apply say 30 just now, and we'll see how that is as we build out. So we'll leave everything else as is at the moment. We'll click done. And I'll leave the color as well. I like to visually see what I'm working with. If we set that to basically 0 opacity, then we'll not see the container at all. So we'll drag another container, drop it into grid 1. And again, EditorX has been really, really helpful with their control panel here. And they've added in this grid selection, which is really neat actually, because I had never used grids, CSS or anything like that previously. I started to use just the column and row numbers, which again were quite easy to use once you use them. However, they've added this sort of selection box here, as it were, to select which you want the corresponding item to go into. So we want it in 1, which is fine. What I'll do here then is you can either expand to the full box, which I'm not going to do, or we can just do the control the widths and everything here. So we'll go 100% width by 100% height. Okay. Then with your margins, just make sure everything is set to 0. Then that means that we're in the center. All of these are going to be set to clear, so 0 opacity. So you're not going to see any of these boxes, container boxes, which is fine. The next thing I want to add will be an image. So it's going to be an icon or something similar. So for that, I think we will use... please excuse the noise. I'm in an office, but there's clearly someone getting work done. If we go for... We'll put a vector in at the moment, okay? Because we'll just put my logo in at the moment. The reason I'm using vector is because we're going to be creating bespoke icons for this site. So it'll just make it easier to sort of switch out when made. EditorX is playing games with me today, unfortunately. It's just being very, very slow. Okay, so we'll go for fixed. We'll increase that up just so I can see what we're working with. Okay, what I need to add now is a sort of header for each box. So we'll go jump to text themes. And a good note, always set your text themes before you start designing a site. It will save you so much time. What we want here is a heading. So we'll go for heading 6. And again, very slow, apologies. And we'll just edit this text. Okay, I think, if my memory serves me right, as this is called Rising Stars, this section. Just make sure you're happy with the text size. I probably would increase that to about 26. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll grab some text. Now you can either go into the text bar, or if you have a piece of text elsewhere on the page that you can access very easily, just copy it and paste. So I'll just copy that out. I'll click anywhere else and click paste. Okay, I'm going to deal a lot of this text out before we then manipulate it, but we're going to say approximately that amount of text. What I'll do is I'll center all this text as well. Just make sure that's all centered, it is. And then we have all the parts to the one container. I just need to put them all into a stack now. Okay, so we'll move it down. Make sure we're attached into the box, which is fine. Then we'll grab the items. So we'll start with the top, press Shift and select the rest. That's quite a small stack. There's only 3 items in it, which is great. So once you've selected, click Stack. And you will see then you'll get options for the stack here. 90% is not what we want. We want 100%. No, apologies. No, we don't. We want 90%. Basically, because everything within the stack, apart from the image, will set to 100. So then if you've got text in there that's 100 and you've scaled your stack to 100, then it's going to come right to the edge, which is what we don't want to see. Usually, I would say that's what we don't want to see if you're going to have a box there and you're going to see the physical box boundary. But as we're not, we can set it to 100. I was right the first time. Again, with this, we'll create everything so it's not docked to any side, top or bottom. And then we'll just make sure it's in the center as well. After that's done, there's these handy alignment tools, which again, if we click center, will make sure everything in the stack is center aligned. And then lastly, we will just click through the objects, make sure they're all set to 100%, check your spacing between rising stars, and the text is 13. I don't really like numbers like that. I like 10, 15, 20 kind of numbers, so we'll go for 15. And then we'll click into the text and just check that out. So that's currently 83%, so we'll set that to 100, okay? Image-wise, again, as I say, we'll leave that as is at the moment. We'll maybe create a bigger gap here, 25. Okay, so once we have that stack sorted, we do, okay. We'll click into the container of which that sits. I'm going to remove a minimum height, okay? We'll change the height to auto. And you'll see it change. Basically what's happening is the height of the container is constricting to the content that's within there. It's a great way of managing sort of hierarchy parent-child. But you'll see sort of when I've changed this, it's now not changed the container below. A simple fact, this has a minimum height. But even when we remove this, so pretty much like we were done in the last one, we've got height is auto and no minimum height. So you may be asking, what is stopping it from going up? When you create a grid, it stores a height value. So we'll go into edit and you'll see here, it's got minimum height. We want to just change this to auto and you'll see it drop down very, very quickly. So that's it. It's very simple. And again, what we'll do here is just check the parameters of our everything else that's lined up. What we want to do is just remove the back color from this. So we'll set that to 0. And then with the container, make sure we're always selecting the containers here, the second one, okay? And we'll remove the color from that. What we want to do then is just click Control D. And you can see it's duplicated. It just takes a wee minute to load. All you want to do is put that into space 2. And you don't need to change any of the other parameters. You can use the docking feature here. So remember, we're not docking it to anywhere. So we'll just click there. We want 0 and we want 0. That will stretch. You need to set that to 100 as well. Sorry, the width. Okay. And then last time, the third one. Click onto it. Yep, we only want you in 3, please. Set width to 100%. And we will remove boundaries. Okay, We'll jump sort of back to this wireframe at the moment. So local rising stars, sorry, not just rising stars, one-to-one mentorship and fully funded. So we'll quickly just put these in. One-to-one mentorship. And the reason for structuring a site like this and the confines of containers and stacks is that when you come to designing the responsive nature of the site, it becomes so much easier to manipulate, and I'll explain why. Fully funded in here, wasn't it? And then this was local rising stars. Okay, so we'll use this part as an example. Because all of these are now in a container, when we drag the viewport window handles, we'll see it all sort of collapsing down. We'll go to the smallest of desktop sizes, which is 1001 pixels. Okay, first off, we'll quickly just put everything else that was in this stack. Okay. I moved this out of the way simply because it's connecting with that. So we'll stack those. Everything within one section I would stack just so you don't have anything overlapping. Sections are quite good, they act sort of like big containers. So what we want here is fine. It just means that when we're scaling up and down, nothing's really changing place, as it were. Okay, are we still at 101? We are. You may have noticed actually that this stack here is lower than the rest. We will take a quick look at that. So if we don't click on the stack, we'll click on the container of which that stack is in. And we want to dock everything to the top then. Okay. You may not need to do the rest. I simply like to, in case anything changes, like I change some text and it deforms sort of how the box will react. It's just an easier way of working, as I say. It saves you time in the long run. Okay, we'll jump back to container. Great, okay, that's already pinned. Okay, so that was the smallest of the desktop sizes. If we then go into tablet format, we'll ignore this section at the top here. I just want to show you sort of what happens with these. I don't really like text that's really squished, so you're reading like two lines of text each line. Therefore, with the container, you can do multiple things. We can either change that to, rather than a grid of 3, we can have a grid of 2 with one underneath, which again doesn't look great. It's better if you have 4 that way. Or, which I would like to do here, is just turn them vertically. So we'll just click Change Grid Layout here, and you'll see it gives you the option, vertical. So we'll click that. You'll see spacing then is not the same. We'll just click Grid Layout, Advanced, and again you can create your gap here by 30. Okay. And the last thing to change is your sizing. So the only reason that that's stretching out over the side just now is because of this element up here. It would be confined to 90% of your window, simply because the container there is 90, but something's pushing it out. I have a fear it's this image here, which it is because it has a minimum width. If we take that out, yeah, you can see straight away. Okay, that's boxed back down, which is fine. Okay. And it means that when we come to mobile, it'll have saved that layout. All we need to do is change text sizes on mobile, but everything else is there and ready to go. That's why I love using sort of containers and grids. It's so helpful. I've also set some sort of max widths here, so nothing's going to get too large. And then we'll play about with the spacing here as well. So what we want is spacing between that and those three sections below to say be 100, and it'll drop them down or move that up in this case. Once you have everything in the section in a stack, and that's what you want to do with it, I'm going to just set the max width here. Once you have everything in there, I will take off the confines of this, and we will create a 50 pad sort of margin at the top, and then 100 at the bottom. And what that does is that when I click onto the section and I remove a predefined height, so it's basically just auto height, it'll keep it to those confines of 50 from the top and 100 at the bottom with the content in the middle, basically. So you'll see as we scroll up. If I think that this is too close, then all I need to do is grab the stack, and you'll see sort of how this is done. We'll use, again, the family selection here. So we'll grab the main stack, and we'll change that to, say it was 150. We'll see it drop down. There you go. It's a great way of just sort of manipulating the heights and how things interact. Don't get me wrong, it's not always perfect. It's not always the best solution, but for the majority of builds, for us anyway, it is. I appreciate your time in having a wee watch of this video. This is my very first video, actually. Hopefully it wasn't too all over the place, and I would appreciate your comments. Do let me know what you think, and hopefully look forward to the next one. Thank you.